Live from Sydney, 7 News with Angela Cox.
Good afternoon. The Premier says fears the CBD cluster would trigger a wider outbreak don't seem to have materialised. 10 new cases were reported overnight, most of them in hotel quarantine. Health authorities say restrictions on visitors at aged care facilities could now be lifted in time for Father's Day. Chris Reason is following this story. Chris, this is good news for many families.
Ange, good afternoon. That's right, it is good news, though not entirely confirmed yet, but thanks to the lower than expected case numbers emanating from here in the CBD cluster, they're saying there is a good chance that the restrictions will be lifted by Father's Day. The Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, and the Chief Health Officer, Kerry Chant, saying at today's press conference that their fears of a major outbreak centring on the City Tattersalls outbreak hadn't materialised, that it appears to be contained, meaning that they will now revise the visiting ban on aged care homes and the like in time for Father's Day this Sunday, adding that if the numbers stay low, they'll also look to allow school students back to milestone moment events like graduations and formals once term 3 is finished. Now, 10 new cases today in New South Wales, 6 are in hotel quarantine. The other 4 are all linked to this CBD cluster, with a renewed push now for people to wear masks on public transport after a second commuter tested positive on the X39 bus from the city to Clovelly. But still, the Premier is steadfast on her refusal to make masks mandatory.
The health advice says it also could give people a false sense of security, and we need to give the time for the community to certainly embrace masks, get used to them and to acquire them.
Now, health authorities are saying it is possible that the second positive picked it up from the first, and interestingly, the one who appears to have transmitted the virus was wearing a mask at the time, while the person who was infected was not. There were 14 people on that bus at the time. They're now going through the CCTV on the bus. They've also gone through the Opal card data to try and track down those passengers and alert them that everyone on that bus needs to go into immediate isolation for 14 days and get tested. Ange?
Embattled Aged Care Minister Richard Colbeck has announced $500 million more in pandemic funding for his sector. The new money will extend programs to protect aged care facilities from the virus. Live to Tim Lester in Canberra. Tim, this comes as Labor pushes for the minister's sacking.
Hello, Ange. Yes, the now infamous Colbeck mental block happened 10 days ago. The aged care minister unable to say how many elderly Australians have died of COVID-19. Well, Labor is just not letting go of it. They've pursued the minister in question time again this afternoon. This after Senator Colbeck and Health Minister Greg Hunt committed $563 million to extend aged care COVID-19 programs.
Today's announcement demonstrates the work that I am doing to ensure that residents in aged care across Australia get the support that they need through this COVID-19 pandemic.
Why does the current aged care minister still have his job?
Because under this aged care minister, $1.5 billion of additional support has been put into the aged care sector during the COVID-19 crisis.
And Tim, the Federal Treasurer now says Victoria's management of the pandemic has been a litany of failures.
Yes, Ange, the Treasurer spent much of yesterday hammering the Victorian government for its failure to detail a plan of coming out of its stage 4 lockdowns. Today he's hit the issue harder with some Treasury forecasts. They suggest 60% of all Australians relying on the JobKeeper wage subsidies through the December and March quarters will be Victorians.
As the Federal Treasurer, I am seeing the economic cost of what is transpiring in Victoria. This has to be the biggest public policy failure by a state government in living memory.
And the acting chief medical officer was asked to comment this afternoon on whether Victoria is moving quickly enough out of lockdown rather than back the federal position. He said simply he notes Victoria is taking it slow and steady. Ange?
OK. Thank you. Tim Lester in Canberra. A female prison officer remains in a stable condition after being stabbed in the back with a pair of scissors at Silverwater Jail this morning. Evan Batten is on the story. Evan, it appears to have been a random attack by another woman.
Angela, this certainly does highlight the dangers that corrective services guards face every single day. We know it was just about 8 o'clock this morning that paramedics were called, 10 past 8 in fact, to reports that a 25-year-old corrective services officer had been stabbed in the back with a pair of scissors, allegedly at the hands of a 26-year-old inmate. Now, they rendered treatment to the officer on scene. She was taken to Westmead Hospital a short time later. But we're told that she didn't even need surgery. She's in a stable condition and is expected to be released from hospital at some stage today. Paramedics, though, told us that the assault was brutal, and when they first arrived on scene, they described it as intense.
Well, the scissors were still embedded in her back at that point in time. Basically, it was in between her shoulder blades, straight between the shoulders.
Angela, as you can understand, police were also called. Detectives have been here at the jail going through security vision, although we're told it will be some time before they're able to interview the 26-year-old inmate, and we suspect lay charges possibly tomorrow. Angela?
Police have released images of 4 men they are looking for in relation to a stabbing attack which left a man with a partially severed ear. Officers have already charged a man and his girlfriend over the attack. Tom Saker reports.
Good afternoon. The man at the centre of a dramatic police chase through Randwick has been denied bail and will join his co-accused girlfriend behind bars until at least the end of October after a man was stabbed on Saturday night. Police are still on the hunt for 4 men they believe are connected to the violent attack and have released this vision, hoping someone knows who and where they are. At court today, 23-year-old Patrick Earl appeared on screen via video link with a bandage over his left eyebrow. 7 News cameras captured the dramatic police chase for Earl as officers ran with sniffer dogs near the apartment block where the attack occurred. The Irish national didn't apply for bail. He's accused of stabbing Oliver Solon on Saturday night after his girlfriend Katie Murtagh allegedly led him and other guests into her apartment on Young Street, knowing violence would occur. The victim's ear was allegedly cut off, which required surgery yesterday. 26-year-old Murtagh is accused of aiding and abetting the attack and dragging Mr Solon into the apartment's hallway. The couple were new residents to the Young Street block and are now facing a maximum prison sentence of 25 years behind bars, while the motivation for the attack remains unclear.
Meteorologist David Brown joins us now. Good afternoon, Brownie. What's happening on the weather front?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ange. Well, it's a beautiful afternoon, I must say, across our city to see out. Yes, winter. Right now, though, as we look at current conditions, you'll see it sits on 17 degrees, but it's cold in the wind. In fact, that's southerly at the moment. We've got a wind chill of around 11 degrees. Now, for the state, the dry south to southwesterly is continuing to push through. Still quite warm over the northeast corner. It's been a dry and generally sunny day. Now, data just in from the Bureau highlights August was a warmer month than average for coastal areas. It was colder inland. In fact, Camden recorded its coldest August in something like 6 years, as well as the highest rainfall total for the month, 82.6 millimetres. That's more than double the monthly average. In contrast, you'll notice the rains fell short in the city. Now, the first day of spring looks like this, cool and generally sunny conditions. We'll see a northeasterly breeze building in the afternoon, and at the moment, temperatures 16 degrees there at Parramatta, a little bit fresh at Terry Hills. In fact, it's cold, it's 13 degrees. First week of spring, top of the hour. Ange?
OK, thanks, Brownie. Still to come in Sydney's afternoon news on 7. Fewer drivers on our roads, but fatalities are on the rise. What's behind the spike? SpaceX launches another rocket, so what was different this time around? And ahead, the moment a little girl is sent flying, tangled up in a kite.
When no one is who they seem.
I cannot accept what we did.
Could you see through their lies?
You're still stuck in the water and you just don't see it.
On the home of Great British Mysteries. Foyle's War. Tonight on 7/2.
Feel good. If you have diabetes, what you choose to eat can really affect your blood sugar levels. Now, Glucerna makes snacking easy. Glucerna is a delicious, low GI drink specially developed for people with diabetes. Simply replacing 1 or 2 snacks per day with Glucerna may help deliver the steady energy you need. Simple choices make a big difference. Glucerna, available in quality pharmacies.
Is that your dog?
neighbour's dog. Will my insurance cover this?
Not looking good, I'm afraid.
Budget Direct would have provided you with temporary accommodation for up to a year while they repaired it.
Good dog.
Get temporary accommodation for up to a year. With Budget Direct, you've got insurance solved.
It doesn't take much to enjoy the perfect night in. A little effort from you and a Ristorante pizza. Dr. Oetker Ristorante. Pizzeria taste, surprisingly, from your freezer.
And there is only one...
I'm alive. Just kidding. I'm dead inside, emotionally. But that's neither here nor there. There's still only one cure for hungry, thirsty, and that's Oak. With its full strength and full taste, it's full on. Oh, Oak. Kill hungry, thirsty, dead.
That's a low price. Oh man, that's good.
Dan, you're off mute, mate.
Oh man. I was listening. You were talking about business.
We've made changes for those who can't talk right now. Message us anytime in the My Telstra app.
Nobility is a matter of conduct, not breeding.
Take the fine people at Noble Oak. They're single-handedly slicing the cost of life insurance.
Oh. Search Noble Oak Life Insurance.
Boys!
Watch Sky Racing live, anywhere. Now available on Sportsbet.
You're watching 7's 4 p.m. Sydney News, and this is the view at Bondi right now. Our beach is saying a partly cloudy farewell to winter. Right now, it is 15 degrees. 5 people have incredibly walked away from a nasty crash in Sydney's inner west. A Toyota Camry collided with a cement traffic barrier and was crushed by the side of a truck at Lewisham last night. It's believed the driver was trying to pass the heavy vehicle on the inside lane of Old Canterbury Road when he ran out of road. Remarkably, only one passenger from the Camry suffered a minor hand injury. Police are now investigating. Shocking new figures have revealed a huge spike in speeding deaths on New South Wales roads during the COVID crisis. There's also been a rise in fatalities from people not wearing seatbelts. Alex Hart is following this story. Alex, what's behind it all?
And with fewer cars on the road during the COVID crisis, the state government is concerned that people are simply becoming too complacent. Between March and July, 65 people died on the state's roads in crashes blamed on speeding, making up 54% of road fatalities compared to just 27% during the same period last year. 17 people who died were not wearing seatbelts, the percentage more than doubling from 9 to 22% of all fatal road crashes during that period.
We need everybody to recognise, particularly at this time, that speed is out of control on our roads.
Male drivers have been singled out, making up 3/4 of those who died in speed-related crashes or without seatbelts.
Of the 65 people who've died in speed-related incidents from March through to July of this year, 45 of those were males.
There won't be a police blitz to crack down on this sort of dangerous behaviour, just a plea to drivers and passengers to slow down and buckle up. Ange.
The US President's son-in-law and White House senior advisor Jared Kushner is in Israel formalising a deal that will see the Jewish state establish official ties with the United Arab Emirates.
This opens the door for what I can only call unbridled trade, tourism, investments, and you will see how the sparks fly on this. it's already happening.
The US delegation will join the first commercial flight to the Emirates from Israel, taking off tomorrow. Reports out of the US say Kushner is also working to convince leaders from other Arab states to fly to the US for a ceremony marking the event with President Trump. Tens of thousands of people have kept the pressure on Belarus's President Alexander Lukashenko. For the third straight weekend, they marched, calling for him to resign, claiming his recent election victory was rigged. There were tense scenes in Minsk when riot police were deployed and made several arrests. The protests came on Mr. Lukashenko's 66th birthday. SpaceX has launched an Earth observation satellite. The Falcon 9 rocket blasted into a polar orbit from Cape Canaveral, something that hasn't been done in 60 years. Just 8 minutes after liftoff, the booster's first stage produced some dramatic sonic booms as it made its way back to Earth. Next in 7's afternoon news, the emergency on a suburban road, what caused this fire hydrant to rupture. The decision that has some calling the Salvation Army mean-spirited. And in sport, why Sonny Williams made a quick escape while the Roosters trained for the grand final rematch.
Tonight on 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
COVID transmission on a Sydney bus, the new debate on masks, what Paul Keating says about your super, and a tower of water floods a house.
Tonight on 7 News at 6. As you're waking,
live pictures from our news chopper.
Know what's breaking.
Ferocious storm in Melbourne.
The team Australia trusts are on Sunrise.
Beaten her gut and it's good bacteria, making it tasty. That's my criteria.
New Helga's Digestive Wellbeing feeds the good bacteria in your gut.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
Domino's $5 pizzas are incredible value. 7 awesome recipes, all made with fresh dough, vine-ripened tomato sauce, and stretchier, tastier mozzarella. $5 pizzas, no voucher required. At Domino's.
We've made changes for businesses worried about cyber attacks. Now, a specialised team can help manage and protect your business with cybersecurity services.
Red Rock Deli. Discover a world of deliciousness.
The LDV T60 4x4 diesel is ready for anything. And now it's ready for more. From just $28,990, you'll also get over $2,000 worth of accessories. To enjoy more, visit your nearest dealer now.
Life is a lot. It's frustrating, awkward, scary, embarrassing, weird, stressful, and complicated. Exactly what AHM isn't. Because when you're sweating the big stuff in life, the last thing you want to worry about is health insurance. AHM, the simple bit.
We started Boccaccio in 1958, more or less from nothing. We were there selling cheeses and mortadellas, parma ham, before the supermarkets even knew what delis looked like. I've got 11 grandchildren working on the cash registers and a few more to follow shortly.
Food and wine is the centre of our lives. Boccaccio IGA, as we are here, is like 45 years old. Our customers are basically friends and family. They've seen us all grow up.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
Some residents in a Brisbane suburb were left a little bit annoyed after a crew carrying out roadworks hit a fire hydrant. It sent water gushing metres into the air. The water was shut off as a utility crew was brought in to fix the pipe. A top criminal lawyer has joined a chorus of support for the Salvation Army's courthouse chaplains who've been told they'll have to work for nothing. Most can't afford that, and as Robert Avadia reports, they'll be sorely missed.
Well, Angela, for an organisation that is so renowned for its compassion and generosity, this decision today is being described as mean-spirited, certainly not generous, bureaucratic and unnecessary. That criticism is aimed squarely at the Salvation Army's board of directors, who are asking its chaplains to continue their support services for free at courts, at hospitals, also clubs and hotels. Now, Salvation Army chaplains are really paid meagre salaries, as it is roughly $30,000 to offer emotional support at court, juvenile justice centres and detention centres too. A tough job that many see as a calling, but will have to leave now because they simply cannot afford to stay.
The courts do a fantastic job under very difficult circumstances, and the work that the Salvos do here and other courts, I just can't understand this decision.
It was hard news to hear, and I love my job here. Called by God to work as I do in the courts, and yeah, it's sad.
The decision to scrap services in court is reportedly to boost numbers in rural areas and homeless services, and there is a strong argument for why services are needed there. A recent study suggests young men in particular are nearly twice as likely to commit suicide in the country than their city counterparts, and in remote regions that spirals to roughly 6 times more likely. Angela.
Time for sport now with Matt Shervington. And Matt, the Sonny Bill Circus is back.
Yes, Ange, he's meant to be playing this week while the reigning premiers trained for the grand final rematch against the Raiders in Canberra. Sonny Bill made a hasty exit from Roosters headquarters. The club says he's on a different training program to teammates. We'll know tomorrow if he's named in the squad. Critics have slammed the NRL for bending a number of rules to allow the Roosters to sign SBW, but Ricky Stewart is not among them.
I don't care if Sonny's getting $1 million a game. I think it's just fantastic for rugby league to have a world-class athlete.
Raiders centre Curtis Scott is in doubt after injuring his ankle in last night's 34-20 win over the Bulldogs. West Tigers champion Benji Marshall faces being forced out of the club. The 35-year-old wants to play one more season in the NRL, but the Tigers are set to tell Marshall he won't be offered a contract for 2021. Club legend Benny Elias says Marshall should consider retiring at the end of the season.
He's in the same boat, I believe, as Cameron Smith. I'd rather play one game too less than one too many and be recognised as he is at the moment, a legend.
This is Marshall's 18th season in the NRL. Sydney FC are celebrating a record 5th A-League title. Grand final hero Ryan Grant joined coach Steve Corica and skipper Alex Wilkinson in showing off the spoils of a dominant season this morning. Grant scored in extra time to break the deadlock in last night's gripping struggle with Melbourne City at Bankwest Stadium.
We wanted to win both trophies, the premiership and the grand final, and you know, full credit to them, they did that. So you know, it's just an amazing feeling.
Grant won the Joe Marston Medal for Player of the Match. Daniel Ricciardo equalled his best performance in a Renault and drove the fastest lap to finish 4th at the Belgian Grand Prix. Antonio Giovinazzi's heavy crash sent a wheel flying into the car of George Russell. The protective halo around the cockpit may have saved Russell's life.
The wheel just came from nowhere, and we feel very fortunate to have the halo on because I could have gone quite near the helmet.
Lewis Hamilton's 5th win of the season extended his championship lead. On the eve of the US Open in New York, there are fears of a COVID cluster that could break out at Flushing Meadows. Fiery Frenchman Benoit Paire has been withdrawn from the Grand Slam and isolated after testing positive for the virus. Organisers are tracing Paire's contacts to see if other players have been exposed. Joe Ingles and his Utah Jazz are in danger of a first-round exit from the NBA playoffs. Donovan Mitchell had a hot hand in Game 6 against Denver, but Jamal Murray's was even hotter.
Does he got another one in him? Oh, you bet he does! And that might be the dagger.
Murray's 50 points got Denver home, 119 to 107 to force Game 7 decider. There was an incredible finish at the BMW Championship at Olympia Fields. World number 1 Dustin Johnson did this to force a playoff.
He gave it a great run. He gave it a great run! Oh my God!
Then Spain's world number 2 John Rahm lined up this outrageous 20-metre curler to win it.
Here it comes. Here it. Watch out!
Cameron Smith and Mark Leishman made next week's Tour Championship. Adam Scott dropped 4 shots in 4 holes to crash out of the top 30. Aussie Richie Porte is 2 seconds from the lead in the Tour de France after a relatively uneventful second stage. Julien Alaphilippe took the win and leader's yellow jersey. The local hero broke down in tears remembering his late father who passed away on the day of the Tour, which was meant to start in June. Yeah, very upset. And I've got to commend Sydney FC for winning that 5th A-League title. Amazing. And Ryan Grant, I've got to say, he's the only player to go into the COVID lockdown with a mullet and come out with one as well.
That's impressive. Probably a lot longer now. Thank you so much, Chavo. Coming up on 7 News Plus, up in flames, what investigators believe caused this inferno at a Camden office, why this mayor in the United States is furious with the president, and homeowners be warned, the experts who think an interest rate rise might be coming.
There's only one thing that can stop this cop finding a killer. The cop's wife.
Let me buy you a drink. You're hitting on the detective's missus. I know what I'm doing.
This is so dangerous.
You're playing with fire. Everybody knows who her husband is.
This is gonna work for us.
Wicked gonna come.
Home and Away, this week at 7 on 7.
Feeding her gut and it's good bacteria, making it tasty, that's my criteria.
New Helga's Digestive Wellbeing feeds the good bacteria in your gut.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
Hey guys, get all your gear on. Steve, you're on the front. You guys in the back. Get on the hoses. Come on, let's go. Stay safe, stay safe.
Today's pace can take a toll. It's why we developed Panadol Rapid, absorbed 2 times faster than regular Panadol tablets, and why every positive change can make a difference. Together, let's rethink care.
Macca's fries are made with 100% Aussie potatoes grown on farms like Kev's.
We've been supplying Macca's for many years.
And for a limited time, cheeseburger shaker fries are back. Macca's fries. Get them fresh or replaced on us.
With Belong, you get 10 gigs of mobile data for $25 a month. That's 10 gigs of family time, plus unlimited international calls and texts to selected countries for $5 extra. Together, we're different. Belong.
It doesn't take much to enjoy the perfect night in. A little effort from you and a Ristorante pizza. Dr. Oetker Ristorante. Pizzeria taste, surprisingly, from your freezer.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Angela Cox.
Health authorities here are resisting calls to make masks on public transport mandatory. It comes after another 10 cases were announced over the past 24 hours. 4 of those are linked to the recent CBD cluster that's now responsible for 34 cases. Still, the Premier says she's pleased with the figures.
Our fears about the CBD cluster have yet not materialised in that it's been contained, and I want to thank, to this point in time, and I want to thank our health officials in particular for being so diligent.
And that means there is a good chance that restrictions around aged care visitor numbers could be lifted in time for Father's Day. Meantime, in Victoria, the state has recorded 8 deaths in the past 24 hours and 73 new cases. Premier Dan Andrews will detail the path out of lockdown on Sunday. That can't come soon enough for some Victorians. Patience is fast running out. Paul Dowsley has more.
Dandenong continues to be a flashpoint suburb in Melbourne for protests. 4 more fines were handed out here yesterday, and at the same time in the northern suburb of Broadmeadows, dozens of young men in Guy Fawkes masks were roaming the streets together despite the Chief Health Officer's directions outlawing gatherings during our Stage 5 lockdown.
I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm confused. Did I run?
3 were arrested and will be fined. That group, calling themselves the Resistance, is vowing to march in the city this Saturday and hoping thousands will join them. Melbourne identity Sam Newman says he is likely to be among them.
I'd like them to gather and say, almost as Peter Finch once said famously, we've had enough and we're not putting up with any more of it.
But the Victorian Premier says relief is coming, promising to finally reveal his government's plan for us coming out of our second wave, how we can visit friends again and travel outside our local areas. This morning he also announced 73 new cases, that's our lowest since July 3, plus 8 more deaths and another 33 unreported deaths that haven't been released until now due to a backlog in the aged care system from over the past couple of weeks. So this weekend in Melbourne is set to be eventful with the protest on Saturday and then finally some clarity about Victoria's future on Sunday.
There's a renewed push for a funding boost from the federal government to keep Australians living at home for longer as they get older. As Chris Marr reports, advocates say the number of people waiting for a home care package is unacceptable and the issue has escalated during the pandemic.
Well, at the tragic impact of COVID-19 in some aged care facilities, there are calls today for more support for the care of the elderly in their own home. Now, many in-home care services for the aged rely on funding support from the Home Care Packages program, but there are over 16,500 elderly residents on the waiting list in New South Wales for that assistance. The Council on the Ageing says waiting times can be up to 18 months, and in that time, many are forced into residential care. The issue has seen more pressure on the federal government over its commitments to aged care services, in this case for those wanting to remain at home.
Regrettably, people die waiting for a home care package. This is unacceptable in 21st century Australia. We want to see this commitment.
There's been some $3 billion investment in additional in-home aged care places, Mr Speaker, in just the last 3 years.
And today the federal government announced an additional $563 million for the aged care sector's response to COVID-19. It comes with unions pushing for an increase in the Medicare levy to help pay for a major boost of staff in nursing homes.
A Camden real estate agency became a crime scene last night after it was consumed by fire. Investigators believe the blaze was sparked by accident. Natasha Squarey has more.
Well, Ange, fire investigators believe the blaze started in a garbage room at the back of the real estate business, possibly by a discarded cigarette. The fire then took off quickly just after 5 yesterday afternoon, ripping through the Ray White real estate agency here in Camden.
I had a text message from one of the guys in the office who lives very, very close by and said, you've got to get down here quick.
As 50 firefighters worked to extinguish the blaze, the 2-storey building became increasingly unstable and crews were forced back. Owners of neighbouring businesses rushed to the busy shopping strip, fearing the fire would spread.
Absolutely terrifying. At the stage that I arrived here, the fire wasn't up into the roof space at that point.
Thankfully, crews protected those other structures, but sadly, Ray White suffered significant damage.
Yeah, one of the main priorities firefighters had to deal with on arrival was the threat of the fire spreading to the buildings either side.
It's also been revealed the building is heritage listed. As the investigation continues, staff at Ray White will be working remotely again after only returning to the office last week after months of working from home.
The Sydney parents of a 3-year-old girl who died from complications with the common flu hope an inquest will prevent a tragedy like this happening again. Ashley Hansen spoke with Caitlin Cruz's parents outside the coroner's court today.
Good afternoon. An autopsy found 3-year-old Caitlin Cruz died from complications from influenza B in 2016, but a medical investigation found there were serious errors in her care. Caitlin was a beautiful preschooler who loved music and dancing. She was adored by her parents, who were in court today as her inquest got underway. In August 2016, Mitch Cruz took Caitlin to their local GP at Rhodes for the second time in a matter of days. On August 22, Caitlin collapsed in the waiting room. Doctors who raced to treat her told the court she was pale, her lips were blue, and she was barely breathing. She was unresponsive. After oxygen and an external massage on her chest, she came to. But Dr. Kidway told the inquest, "I was extremely concerned. She was probably the sickest child I'd seen in general practice." She was taken by paramedics to the Children's Hospital at Westmead, where a series of medical failures occurred. The court heard there was a lack of communication between medical staff and an electrocardiogram, which monitors a patient's heart activity, was out of battery. 3 hours later, when Caitlin was placed on an ECG, the results weren't reviewed by a senior doctor until the following morning, some 12 hours later. Later that morning, Caitlin's condition deteriorated and she died. Caitlin's family wants hospital procedures to be changed so another young life isn't lost.
We're also doing this for families who hopefully may not be able to experience the same heartache and loss that we have.
The inquest resumes tomorrow.
Now to the United States, where Donald Trump is being blamed for inciting violence after a man was shot dead at a rally. The mayor of Portland launched a stinging rebuke against the president, who quickly fired back. David Boywood reports.
The Mayor of Portland has come out swinging at President Donald Trump, who he blames for yet another night of bloody violence on the streets. Police are hunting a gunman after a man was shot dead following a tense standoff between a pro-Trump group and Black Lives Matter demonstrators. The victim was wearing the insignia of far-right group the Patriot Prayer, and today the Mayor of Portland said the president was to blame for the escalation in violence.
Do you seriously wonder, Mr. President, why this is the first time in decades that America has seen this level of violence? It's you who have created the hate and the division.
Donald Trump returned with a series of tweets saying Ted Wheeler was a wacky, radical left, do-nothing Democrat mayor of Portland, adding Portland will never recover with a fool for a mayor. From one city in crisis to another, the president announcing he'll visit Kenosha this week after a week of violent protests. The mayor of that town also not rolling out the red carpet.
From my perspective, right now is not the time. Presidents and are always welcome in the community, but the timing, I think, is not really a very good timing.
The president's travel plans described as provocative as he touts his law and order credentials just 64 days out from the election.
Homeowners and prospective buyers are being warned home loan interest rate rises could be coming soon, despite the Reserve Bank likely keeping rates on hold. Network Finance editor Gemma Acton is here. Gemma, why would the banks need to raise rates?
Well, Ange, after years of making very large profits, it's been more difficult for the banks in recent years to do so. Interest rates are very low, so they're making less money from lending it out. Billions of dollars in fines and compensation to be paid as a result of the Royal Commission. And then the pandemic, of course, just causing more problems for the banks, with many customers deferring loan repayments and not that much new business because many people and businesses don't have the confidence to borrow. So ideally for banks, they would raise their variable home loan rates to make a bit more money, but it doesn't look as though the Reserve Bank is likely to raise interest rates for another 2 to 3 years. What we have seen in recent years, though, is banks move despite the Reserve Bank doing so, and they could very well do so in the coming months or years.
It's no longer like it was back in the day where banks need to wait for the variable rate to move to increase their rates. They can and will do it anyway. And according to our economists, that is likely.
And Gemma, new details are out today about which first home buyers are getting government help.
Yes, Ange. The government launched the first home buyer deposit scheme earlier this year, and they allowed 10,000 first home buyers to only put down a 5% deposit to buy a house without having to pay lender's mortgage insurance, which is very costly. Those 10,000 places were snapped up very quickly early this year. It let out another 10,000 places about a month ago, and that's been, we said, huge demand for those places as well. You can understand the attraction up front. Not having to pay that cost does save a lot of money, but over the long run the concern is the interest payments are actually a lot higher, and that could be a particular concern if banks do raise variable home loan rates.
Okay, thank you, Gem. We're live to ComSec for the latest on Your Money Next, plus how bystanders saved a little girl, the astonishing moment she was blown away by a kite, the 95-year-old war veteran, his tricycle, and how his golf mates keep him going. It's 13 degrees in Katoomba. Brownie has Sydney's forecast soon.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed.
Losing my mum at the age of 12, shutting down all of my emotions, has had a quite serious effect.
The royal family go on the record, only now revealing the events that took an incredible toll on the Queen. Inside the Crown, Tuesday at 9 on 7.
It's a smart time to switch to solar. Purchase a Solar Hut solar water heater and get a $700 trade-in on your gas or electric water heater. Plus, get 60 months interest-free on all products including solar power. Get smart. Get Solar Hut.
New Pepsi Max Mango. Max taste, no sugar.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
A lot of people have sensitive teeth, but gum health is really important. The new Sensodyne Sensitivity in Gum toothpaste not only deals with sensitivity, it also maintains gum health. 2 benefits from 1 toothpaste. What a great idea.
You're grounded.
Dad.
Great price.
Great prices, easy as. Amazon.com.au.
Maybe we could find ways to call time out on our kids' busy routines before they get sick. But if they do, Children's Panadol can start to reduce fever in just 15 minutes. Together, let's rethink care.
We've made changes for businesses worried about cyber attacks. Now, a specialised team can help manage and protect your business with cybersecurity services.
What matters most to you? Is it the place you call home? Or a life on the land? Is it looking after your best worker? Or the business you've put everything into? Or a game that brings us together? What is money for? If not for this.
NAB. More than money.
Winning a share of 25 grand could be as easy as cooking up a storm with Coles What's for Dinner. With a stack of Coles shopping vouchers up for grabs, you'll be creating delicious quality meals like our teams at home. Be watching Plate of Origin on 7 for the nightly code word for your chance to win.
A 3-year-old girl is lucky to be alive after being swept into the air by a large kite. This shocking video was captured during a festival in Taiwan. Onlookers screamed as the toddler was flung 10 metres into the air, but she managed to cling on long enough to drift back towards the ground. She was caught. Her relieved parents rushed to her side and found the girl in shock but uninjured. Coming up tonight in 7 News at 6, a new study underway in Sydney is hoping to change the face of maternal and child health. Researchers are taking a detailed look at the microbiome inside a would-be mother. They're examining links between a woman's health before they fall pregnant, then any medical conditions in their child.
If you have a healthier mum, then obviously you are going to have that healthier baby that won't have any of those adverse outcomes.
Full details coming up tonight in 7 News with Mark Ferguson. Checking finance now with James Tao at CommSec. Good afternoon, James. How did the local market start the week?
Yeah, afternoon, and it's not the best start to the new week for the Aussie market. We have the ASX 200 extending losses that we saw last Friday. Today, the ASX 200 down about 0.1% or 13 points. And one of the real weights on the market was the performance of Fortescue Metals, the iron ore miner, falling more than 7.5% today as it traded ex-dividend. There were also some losses coming through from the likes of our banks, retailers and also health stocks. But even with the losses today, we had a pretty positive month over August. It was up more than 2% for the ASX 200, and that extended its winning streak to a 5th straight month. So we've certainly seen some decent improvements for the Aussie market since those early tumbles in February and March. The Aussie dollar has also seen a pretty decent rise of recent times. It's now at the best levels since December of 2018, and it's buying 73.5 US cents there, Ange.
Okay, James Tao from CommSec, thank you. Masks are mandatory in Melbourne, and some believe they should be mandatory on public transport here. So what makes an effective mask? 7 News has been given an exclusive tour of the country's only accredited testing facility.
We visited Australia's only accredited mask testing facility, the CSIRO, where today single-use masks are under the microscope.
The products we're testing are surgical type masks like the one I'm wearing now. And these are actually provided into the healthcare industry for use by surgeons at the highest level, level 3, general use in hospitals and also the general public at level 1 if they choose.
The most extreme test squirts synthetic blood at the mask to simulate a mishap during surgery.
And what we're looking for is to see whether blood squirted at a certain velocity will actually penetrate through a mask.
The second test checks how effectively the mask stops people spreading germs through the air.
We generate an aerosol that contains bacteria and we pass that through the mask at a certain flow rate. And that's an important performance criteria for the mask because it determines how much protection they provide from potential cross-contamination between people as they're breathing or talking or sneezing or coughing.
While the third and final test is about wearability.
We pump air through at a certain flow rate which imitates the quantity of air that a person breathes at rest.
The CSIRO doesn't comment publicly on which masks to avoid. Needless to say, these examples don't meet their scientific standards.
These masks have been tested to a very high level of performance, and if someone in the general public decided to use one, they could be assured that these products would be providing very high levels of protection.
Nathan Templeton, 7 News.
Sydney's 6 p.m. news is coming up with Mark Ferguson. Mark, what are you working on in the newsroom?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ange. Here's what we've got for you tonight. A second coronavirus case from a Sydney bus reignites debate over wearing masks, but case numbers are low, so will remaining restrictions be eased soon? The latest developments at 6. Former Prime Ministers unite, lashing the government over your super guarantee. Scott Morrison accused of a cruel betrayal in extraordinary media conferences. Those interviews at 6. Just released from hospital, a prison guard stabbed at work gives us an update after the horror morning attack. It's supposed to be his big comeback week, so why didn't Sonny Bill Williams train with the Roosters today? The full story at 6. And exclusive access, Border Force raids on what's being called Australia's cocaine highway, just how much they're finding. And all that and plenty more, 7 News tonight at 6 o'clock.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Mark. Hey, very different MTV Video Music Awards have been held in New York. Coronavirus forced some performances and award presentations to be pre-recorded, while the red carpet went virtual. Lady Gaga took home Best Artist and the Tricon Award for more than a decade as a performer.
Take a moment to reward yourself for your bravery. This has not been an easy year for a lot of people.
This year's event was dedicated to Chadwick Boseman, who died of colon cancer at the weekend. Let's get a check on Sydney's traffic.
Good afternoon, it's Angela Cox here in the MTA traffic chopper. In Sutherland, there's a breakdown the Princess Highway at Flora Street heading southbound. And through Granville, this is Parramatta Road. It's looking like a slow run westbound towards Woodville Road and the M4. That's the cars on the right of the screen. Traffic is back into Auburn. With over 3,000 trusted MTA New South Wales members, there's one local to you. For all types of car servicing, repairs and parts, search Find an MTA member today.
A World War II veteran has proven age is just a number, recently displaying his commemorative medallion for his service. It's been 75 years since the end of the conflict, but the 95-year-old digger hasn't slowed down.
Kevin Kerrin is 95 years young. Every Monday and Thursday, the World War II veteran rides his tricycle to the Grange Golf Club in Adelaide, where he's the oldest active member. It's there he meets up with the young lads, his golfing buddies aged in their 70s and 80s.
He can hit a ball straighter than any of us, believe you me.
I hope to make 95. I don't think I'll be playing golf.
I suppose I've looked after myself. I've never been interested in alcohol, I've never smoked, and those sort of things do help.
And he says that's what's helped him live a long and active life. Married in 1949, he's a great-grandfather who worked as a lawyer for many years, studying the profession after he returned from the Second World War. He enlisted when he was just 18 and served in New Guinea in the Air Force, and his service has recently been acknowledged. Kevin received a commemorative medallion marking 75 years since the end of World War II.
I don't look for these sort of things, but it's a nice thing to have.
Elise Baker, 7 News.
Next in 7's afternoon news, David Brown is here with your latest forecast.
Samuel Johnson's won a gold Logie, an Order of Australia, even Dancing with the Stars. But they all had one thing in common. He was wearing clothes.
You know, my sister died a couple of years ago, and this is a chance for me to have fun again.
Not on the thing.
It's not a cricket game unless you get ejected, mate. This will be the hardest thing I have ever attempted. The thought of it makes me anxious.
This is the all-new Monty.
Guys and gals.
Only on 7.
Unlike ordinary toothpaste, Colgate Total's breakthrough formula actively fights bacteria for 12 hours, keeping your whole mouth healthy. Colgate Total. Be totally ready for life.
Your local Stihl dealer has the Father's Day gift Dad really wants. Like petrol chainsaws from only $2.49 and battery blowers from only $1.99. Find your local dealer at stihldealers.com.au.
Take a moment to experience bliss. Smooth melting Lindor. Melt into a moment of bliss from Lindt.
We've made changes for those who can't talk right now. Message us anytime in the My Telstra app.
And where down we go,
Acqua di Gio Profondo, the new intensity, Giorgio Armani.
Discover your signature scent.
The stylish Haval H2, a globally engineered, European-designed and feature-packed SUV. From just $22,990 drive away, Haval H2 Auto. New car thinking.
Police fear for the well-being of a woman in Bathurst.
Prompted by reports of a woman's screams, failed to reveal any clues.
We think there's people in Bathurst who have been holding on to secrets for some time.
Invest with La Trobe Financial, Australia's multi-award winning wealth manager, returning a current variable rate of 4.5% reviewed monthly on a 12-month investment. Make your money work harder for you. Call 138010.
At Bridgestone Select, we know your car inside and out with specials on a huge range of trusted tyre brands, and our qualified mechanics can repair and service your car. For tyres and auto service you can count on, you're always in safe hands at your local Bridgestone Select.
What scares a chaser?
This is a perfect combo.
Different genders, different generations. You're a super team.
Question after question.
Correct. What teamwork?
Lucky our chasers never run from a super team.
Challenge accepted.
New The Chase, weekdays on 7.
Australia's new cocaine highway. Crime syndicates going to extraordinary lengths. We're there as they catch them. 7 News, 6 o'clock.
Meteorologist David Brown is back and he has the latest forecast. Good afternoon, Brownie.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ange. Partly cloudy conditions in our city right now. Cold southerly breeze, well, that kicked in around late morning. Now, the top temperature was 20.9 degrees following, yes, it was a sort of a moldish night, wasn't it? Statewide now, you'll notice it's sitting on 15 degrees in the Gong, Newcastle up the coast, 16 degrees, Canberra in the ACT, currently clear skies and 13 degrees. We have this vigorous southerly that's powering up the coast at the moment. It's still quite warm right here over the northeast corner. We've got northerly air stream there. Temperatures around about the mid-20s at the moment. But this southerly will continue to push further north over the next 24 hours. The high will slip right over the top of us. The pressure gradient opens up. Winds will drop out, and then eventually we'll see a northerly airstream starting to unfold over our neck of the woods during the second half of the day, but there's not much strength in it. Around the nation tomorrow for Melbourne, well, it's starting to warm up a little bit, if you can call 15 degrees warm. It will be a foggy start, then a sunny day to follow. For Brisbane, a shower or two with that south to southeasterly change, but essentially dry for most of the day, 24 degrees. Warmer through the tropical north of Queensland. Darwin, clear skies and around, well, 35 degrees. For our city, dry, partly cloudy for the first day of spring. And a forecast maximum of 18 degrees, dropping down to around 10 overnight. As for the next 7 days, have a look at this. Warms up very quickly, doesn't it? With that northerly wind around 26 in our west, although a little fog is likely first thing. Thursday will start to nudge 30 degrees across the Sydney Basin, and a cool, dry change coming through late Friday, around mid-20s ahead of that change. Cooler conditions across the weekend and some passing showers. So that's the latest from the Weather Centre. More at 6, Ange.
It's a good looking week. OK, thanks, Brownie. The Australian Reptile Park has introduced its newest joey. Alinta, the yellow-footed rock wallaby, is now happily hopping about after recovering from an infection. The newest joey was getting fed every 2 hours and is now starting to eat solids. Her favourite treats include sweet potato and carrot. And that is Sydney's 4 p.m. news for this Monday. Mark Ferguson will bring you 7 News at 6. I'm Angela Cox. Stay with 7 now for the Chase Australia, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hope you have a great night.
Just heating up.
My mouth's watering. Oh, yeah!
This is the World Cup of cooking.
I love it. I love it.
Oh,
man.
Brand new Plate of Origin on 7. The world's best food is here. Tonight, 7:30.
These 4 strangers must work as a team to win thousands.